In September of 2019, Plum Council Vice President David Seitz discussed a plan with members of Council to form a stormwater management task force, which would address and prioritize flooding issues in the borough. The mission of the task force is to identify, prioritize, and develop recommendations, as well as possible solutions for stormwater management issues. Creation of the task force was approved by Council in October of 2019, and members of the public were selected to participate on the task force in December. The task force held its first meeting in January of 2020. This report is designed to serve as a vehicle to inform citizens on what actions the task force has taken over the last 6 months, to include the accomplishments that have been made, the initiatives that are in progress, and what is being planned for the future. The goals of the Stormwater Task Force are as follows. Establish a charter that defines the mission and objectives of the Task Force Committee. Review history of the borough's development and the existing stormwater management systems to include the results of the 2010 study on stormwater issues in the borough. Review the borough's current processes, procedures, and planning for stormwater management. Review the borough's current source of funds that can be used for stormwater management projects and the potential sources of additional funds. Review and identify the locations of the most recent flooding areas and categorize whether these are known problem areas or new issues. Determine root cause of flooding in each area, including whether there may be new causes or contributors to known problem areas. Define the scope of the borough's responsibility as compared to homeowners, the county, and the state, and determine potential solutions and/or mitigations for each of the affected areas. Prioritize which solutions can be implemented based on technical feasibility, implementation time, costs and available funding, and the nature and scope of the solution. Implement an educational program that provides residents with information on basic stormwater concepts and best practices for stormwater mitigation. Set realistic timelines for the implementation and completion of any solutions in line with the anticipated manpower, regulatory, and funding realities. Recommend solutions to Borough Council for their consideration to implement, and communicate the progress and results to the public through a report at the monthly council voting meetings. The following provides an overview of the categories of personnel that the Stormwater Task Force consists of. This includes 3 council members, 1 Plum Borough Streets and Road Supervisor, 1 Plum Borough staff member, 1 Plum Borough engineer, and 5 at-large Plum Borough residents. At-large members should have a vested interest in resolving stormwater issues to include knowledge and experience in stormwater management and mitigation. The at-large members would be selected by the other 6 members of the committee, and meetings would be held no less than once per month, but may be conducted more frequently as needed. This is a listing of the current members of the Stormwater Task Force. There are currently 4 borough residents that serve on the task force, with 1 vacant position currently open for a resident. Previous task force members are listed for historical purposes and in recognition of their contribution to the task force. The format of meetings was initially a central topic of discussion for the task force. There was a significant level of concern expressed with the task force meetings being open to the public and having the potential to negatively impact the flexibility of the task force to meet and make incremental progress on completing the goals as outlined in the committee charter. There was unanimous consensus amongst task force members that the meetings not be open to the public. However, everyone agreed it was important that information from task force meetings be provided to the public. It was therefore decided that monthly updates from the task force chairperson be provided at council work sessions and voting meetings to ensure transparency of all task force decisions. The task force was also concerned that the monthly updates may not be sufficient for members of the public given the closed format of the task force meetings. It was therefore agreed to that special meetings be held to provide a more extensive forum for the public to obtain information and engage in a dialogue with the task force to ask questions and discuss progress being made on the respective goals as outlined in the committee charter. The task force also agreed that the topic of the meeting format, being open or closed, should be revisited and potentially modified if task force members determine a change in meeting format is warranted. One of the first actions of the task force was to identify affected areas in the borough. The task force started by identifying those areas impacted by the July 2019 flooding and other areas within the borough that are prone to flooding. This resulted in the following list of impacted areas. This is a view of the geographic area that includes the more than 250 homes and businesses that were impacted by flooding. Based on the identification of impacted areas, the task force determined the best way to proceed would be to develop a list of both short-term and long-term solutions for each of the identified areas where applicable. This strategy was chosen so that incremental progress could be made on several areas of concern while determining how to address the larger, more systemic issues. Estimated completion dates would be developed for the short-term solutions, and these would be tracked at each meeting to completion. The long-term solutions would then be developed with input from the borough engineer. Now we're going to discuss the details associated with both short-term and long-term projects. We will begin with the short-term projects.
Short-term projects included Anderson Avenue, modifying the existing water flow from the turnpike, Leroy Street, installing debris catcher system, Oblock Key West, diverting stormwater from the stream into the storm pond, and Nassau Drive, replacing the deteriorating pipe and beehive grate. 3 separate drain pipes carry stormwater from above Anderson Avenue and the Pennsylvania Turnpike to the stream below Anderson Avenue. Borough crews modify the outflow angle of these pipes to reduce the friction and improve flow direction. Additional riprap was also installed to further reduce inflow velocity and erosion at the discharge point. Borough crews redesigned and manufactured a proprietary design trash rack or debris catcher to prevent large objects from entering the head wall opening of a culvert pipe. This new design was installed at the culvert crossing under Leroy Street and is now our standard design for all culvert head walls. In Phase 1, borough crews replaced 180 lineal feet of 30-inch smooth-line plastic pipe and relocated 1 sanitary manhole, which was necessary to install the pipe. The total cost for this phase of the project was $150,000. In Phase 2, the beehive grate was removed and a head wall was installed. The pipe distance was reduced and a riprap swale or basin was established to avoid stormwater overflow bypassing the drain pipe and rushing past the pipe and onto Nassau Drive. A trash rack or debris catcher was also installed. Borough staff proposed the idea of identifying strategic locations throughout the borough to investigate possible upstream stormwater storage or impoundment to specifically address the flooding in the identified impacted areas. The existing pond, located at Oblock in Key West, was originally designed to handle stormwater from the Deer Valley Estates housing plan only. This pond is immediately upstream of Pine Valley Drive, however. The borough has redesigned the pond to increase the retention capacity by 370% to prevent further flooding on Pine Valley Drive. This drawing shows the expanded design of the existing pond. The new retention pond will be nearly 4 times larger than the existing one. This is an enlargement of the design drawing for the Oblock Key West storm pond. The old Center Beach property at Center New Texas Road and Salzburg Road is targeted to construct a series of flood mitigation ponds to provide 650,000 cubic feet of new stormwater impoundment to alleviate flooding problems. This project is designed to provide protection for the businesses and residents in the center area, which were severely damaged in July of 2019, including Balson's Distributor, Funfar's gas station, and Superior Windows. This project will also provide protection further downstream for Anderson Avenue. These site plan drawings illustrate the previously described proposed Center Beach project. The borough staff has identified a potential site to establish considerable upstream flood protection for Anderson Avenue and further downstream in Verona and Oakmont. The borough engineer has designed a 2 million cubic feet controlled floodplain area to reduce heavy rain flows to the stream along Anderson Avenue. This drawing illustrates the potential controlled floodplain area for this proposed project. The borough is looking to construct a retention pond on a vacant lot on College Avenue. This pond will help reduce high water flows further down on Leroy Street. Preliminary design drawings for the proposed College Avenue retention pond. The construction of this pond will create approximately 70,000 cubic feet of stormwater retention. In addition to the projects which are the focus of the Stormwater Task Force, in the past 3 years, the borough staff has been working on 7 other multi-year projects to address stormwater flooding concerns elsewhere in the borough. These projects are in varying stages of design and construction at this point. The total cost for these 7 projects is approximately $2 million. Task Force members indicated that it would be beneficial to have the listed items above available during meetings. Much of this information is available via the GIS mapping system. GIS maps of the borough areas should be displayed during meetings, and the borough should determine if access to the GIS system can be linked from the borough website and made available to the public. The borough utilizes a Geographic Information System, or GIS, to assist with the planning and design of construction projects. The GIS enables the user to view many different land features, including earth contours, property lines, and utility lines simultaneously. This information is invaluable in project planning as well as in investigating issues and problems. A separate GIS site was created specifically for the Stormwater Task Force to assist task force members with research and planning. A typical example of a section of the GIS which shows property lines, addresses, and storm sewer lines overlaid directly on the Earth satellite image. In an effort to improve the overall value of the GIS for stormwater planning investigation, borough staff has added other features to the system. Additional GIS data layers were obtained to include water quality and additional floodplain data, and stormwater lines from some of the older housing plans in the borough were field located and added to the system.
The task force will continue to pursue completions of the long-term projects and work towards resolving borough retention pond inventory and ownership. The task force will also continue to seek available funding through various grants and work on reviewing and publishing additional educational resources for the public. If you are interested in educational information regarding stormwater management, the following resources are available. The Stormwater Task Force will continue to focus on pursuing proactive measures that improve the overall conditions that effectively mitigate the risk of flooding in the borough. We welcome input from the community. You can contact the task force via email. The address is plumstormwatertaskforce@plumborough.com. This concludes the Stormwater Task Force status update presentation. Thank you for reviewing, and we hope you will participate in scheduled public meetings to further discuss stormwater management in the borough.